Hello guys, this is KK here bringing you another video of Epic 7. I saw a lot of people commenting on my last video and I really appreciate your suggestions and thoughts. And one comment I saw was that the video was too long, so I will try to make this one short, with maybe within 15 minutes. And also in my last tier list, I have included a lot of Moonlight 5-star hero, which are very rare for a newer player to get, and somebody call it pay to win. So I will try to include like normal RGB hero in the tier list. Try to do my analysis on them as well, and in future videos. So without further ado, let's get into today's contents. Just to make sure that if you really like my videos and want to see more, please feel free to click the like button and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And this really helps me and encourages me to share my experience with the community in the futures. And just let me know if you want to see anything. Let me know and I will make a video for that. Yeah. Okay, for today's topic, I would like to talk about the top 5 best soul weavers in the game. And keep in mind that this list is purely based on my personal opinion. And for soul weavers, I don't think there's a particular ranking in the top 5. They are all good, just in different scenarios. Let's get started. So for honorable mention, I have 3 characters. The first one is Sinful Angelica. Sinful Angelica is a 4-star soul weaver, right? She shines in countering the revive mechanism. So her S2 is that when she's immortal, basically the enemy teams cannot revive. And every time the enemy teams dies, an enemy dies, you get a small portion of healing. And her S3 gives herself immortality while giving attack and speed buff to all the allies. Very strong S3. So what normally seen is that people use Sinful Angelica to counter Arbiter Vildred or Ruele or like make Chloe like for revive, right? So she can use S3 and be immortal, and while the enemy team cannot revive. Not to mention that her S1, right, put decreased attack debuff and also dual attack if the caster is immortal, right? Synergizes very well with her whole kit. And you want to build Sinful Angelica in high effective resistance because normally people want to have the immortal buff, right, stick onto her. You don't have to have her on high health because people gonna hit her anyway, and she's gonna be immortal for 3 turns at least. So it's very powerful. It's very powerful. Sorry, immortal for 2 turns. Yeah, and that's why she's an honorable mention, but she's like only used in PvP, like arena offense, not necessarily in RTA, because I've seen people use her in RTA in a more cleave setup, but it's situationally good. And you can actually use her in hunts as well for one shot, right? Wyvern one shot. If you see YD's video, he used Sinful Angelica as attack buffer in the Wyvern team. I used mine in Banshee one shot. It's actually very fun. So if you're likely to pull her, I think you should build her. Yeah, because she is very versatile and is very strong. The second honorable mention is none other than Magic Scholar Doris. She's a very new hero, and personally I don't have experience using her, but I've seen people actually use her in high-end RTA and be very successful, because of her defense buff, and her combat readiness push, right, 50%, and heal. Yeah, like I think she should be strong, so I just put her in the honorable mention. And her S1 has a decreased hit chance. And the third honorable mention is actually going to be Blood Moon Haze. Blood Moon Haze is designed to be the counters of Arbiter Wieldred, mainly for the second skills, right? When the enemy is revived, grant all allies a barrier and immunity for 1 turn. So basically, when Arbiter Wieldred revives, he cannot do massive damage because of the thick barrier, and your team cannot be blind as well from Arbiter Wieldred S3. So if you seen people use Arbiter Wieldred in RTA, you can immediately respond with a Blood Moon Haste pick to counter the Arbiter Wieldred if the opponent does not ban the Blood Moon Haste, and basically it's GG for them, because it's too hard to deal with, right? Arbiter Wieldred is basically useless. Yeah, and not to mention that his S3 has a penetrate defense and HP scaling damage and heals. It's very strong, and basically you can build him very tanky, right? High HP and still do a lot of damage. People can pair him with Portrait of the Savior just to one-shot some squishies with this S3. And his S3 also has a damage mitigation effect by 10%. A lot of people don't even know this. Yeah, and it's very, very strong. And S1 is just a strip, and also is HP scaling damage. It's very, very good. Overall, I think Blood Moon Haze is more of a PvP hero, and in the RTA setting. So if you want to be successful in countering Arbiter Wieldred, you should build Blood Moon Haste. But other than that, in regular PvE content, I don't see him used that often. Okay, let's actually get into the top 5. The number 5 spot is actually going to be Rwanda. Rwanda is an Earth Soul Weaver, and she's designed to counter Seaside Bellona in a PvP setting, mainly for her S2, right? Recovers the health of all allies when the ally is attacked by an extra attack, counter attack, or dual attack. So Seaside Bellona's S2, the AoE damage is actually a counter attack. And every time Seaside Bellona hits your team, right, the Rwanda can actually push your team up and heal as well. So basically it nullifies the damage as well. And so if you see your opponent in RTA picking Seaside Bellona, you can immediately answer with the Rwanda pick, and they have to ban her. If they don't ban the Rwanda, it's very hard for them to deal with. Basically, the Seaside Bellona becomes the another healer for your team. Yeah, it's that crazy. You know, her S1 is just a barrier for the lowest health ally, and you can sober it for barrier for all ally. And S3 is recovered health and also puts revive buff. So overall, very solid kit. One issue you might need to be careful is that Seaside Bellona S3, right, can put unhealable and unbuffable. If they put that debuff on your team first, then Rwanda is kind of useless because your team cannot heal, right, from this S2. But overall, if you play properly and you have a proper setup, Rwanda is very strong against Seaside Bellona. Actually, you can see people put Rwanda in the arena defense team just to counter Seaside Bellona, because a lot of people like to use Seaside Bellona in offense, right, and auto for wins. By having Rwanda there, it's very hard for the opponents to have to use Seaside Bellona. And also, if you want to, you can put her on a counter Celestine setup, like for the artifact, right? Every time you counter, you give barrier to your teammates, and the Celestine, the artifacts can heal, right, the team, one teammate by a certain amount every time you use the first skills. So it's kind of crazy. Actually, I fought one Rwanda having that setup. It took me a long time to kill. I eventually still won that fight, but it's so annoying to deal with. Overall, very strong hero. I highly recommend you building her if you want to be successful in RT environment. And also, Rwanda can actually be used in Hellraid, right? That caterpillar thing. Because that thing also counter attacks a lot, and if you have Rwanda there, you can mitigate a lot of damage and be successful. Okay, the next one is going to be Angelic Pomeranian, number 4. So A Momo is actually one of the top tier Soul Weavers, specialty change, 3 stars. Because of the fact that A Momo can cleanse so often and pull out a lot of healing. Yeah, like her specialty change is a game changer. I think almost if you want to clear all the PvE content, you have to have A Momo to do that. And her S3 grants immunity to one ally and heal one ally, and increase herself combat readiness by 50%. So if you use Megahara Tome on A Momo, basically you can use S2 and S3 so often that it's just so strong. So much sustain going on, right? And if you soul burn S3, you can have like all immunities to all allies, which is also very good. Not to mention that her S1 has a sleep potential, although it's not very high. And I've seen people in RTA tournament actually sleeping with A Momo S1, and it's kind of hilarious to watch. Yeah, so A Momo is overall a very solid Soul Weavers. In PvE, I would say PvE is like where she shines the most. Like Hellraid, right? And you can even use her as a Wyvern tank if you want. And in RTA and PvP setting, she's picked only, I think, if the enemy team has like a heavy debuff team, because A Momo normally you want to build her with high effective resistance. I believe you have to build her 100% more, like above 100% effective resistance to take full advantage of her specialty change skill tree. Overall, a very, very solid hero, and definitely you need to build her if you haven't built her already, and she will help you a lot in terms of progression. Up at the number 3 spot is going to be Diani. Diani is a limited hero. Actually, I don't have her, and she's just that strong because she's so versatile, right? And you see her in PvP and in PvE. Almost like a lot of content you can use at the end. Her S1 just a combat readiness push by herself, and just to make her effective speed so like faster, right? To help her cycle the other skills. S2, a barrier, a cleanse, 1 debuff. And if you use Rod of Marylands as an artifact, you can actually heal your teammates as well. And normally people will put Rod of Marylands on the end just to provide the extra bit of healing, because her kids doesn't provide healing innately. And her S3 is attack buff, anti-crit buff, and also increase her combat readiness by 50%. So this is probably one of the best S3 animation-wise and also functionality-wise. It just the buff just very strong, and normally if you see her used in RTA, right, people will pick Alencia and DN because Alencia can strip, right, so you want to take it away from the opponent so that your DM buff cannot be stripped, while also providing the defense buff from Alencia. And if the opponent doesn't pick a Bazaar or some kind of strippers, then you basically automatically win the fight because it's just so many buff, right? Attack buff and the anti-crit. Although people say, anti-crit buff is kind of a lie, right? People will still get a crit. But it's still something good to have, right? You still have a chance to not get critically hit, right? And if you are not get crit, and then you reduce the damage by a lot actually, because normally when damage dealer, they are all built a critical hit chance and a critical hit damage for output the maximum amount of damage. Overall, very strong hero, and I will be planning to pull for her in. I think she will come up in around Christmas time, so yeah, be aware of that. And if you want to pull for her, just prepare it, and she's definitely worth the investment. Up at the number 2 spot is gonna be Ruele of Life. I have to say this Ruele is probably the best PvP soul weaver in the game. You see her everywhere, like that face. I kind of feel annoyed every time I see her now because she just so common. Like she's seen everywhere. You get tired of her face. She's in like arena defense, right? RTA definitely, and guild war defense, right? People use her in offense as well, right? Guild war offense, arena offense, and her S1 just a heal, right? And her S, if you soul burn it, it heals actually by a lot to all allies. Her S2 cleanse all debuff and heal one ally and granting a barrier for 2 turns. Very powerful single target heal. Her S3 is crazy because it revives one dead ally and bring HP to full, and also put invincibility for 1 turn. Basically, one of your heroes is guaranteed 2 lives if the opponent doesn't bring any anti-revive hero. And Ruele just that strong, right? Not to mention that her stats is very good. It's very tanky, has very high defense. And you can just build her and put her in the defense, or if you want to use her in RTA, right? You going for the tanky bruiser playstyle, then Ruele is definitely worth investing. If you have her, you haven't really built her, then you're playing the game wrong. So, and if you don't have her, I think also, right, because she's kind of hard to get. Yeah, but personally, I don't really like her well because she just wastes you a lot of time every time you fight her. She is so hard to take down, and what people normally do is build her with high defense, high HP, and effective resistance, and you can't even control her because she's in a very high effective resistance build. And yeah, it just annoys me fighting against Ruele. Yeah, I think she needs a nerf or something. Don't call me on that though. But other than that, Ruele is definitely one of the top soul weaver in the game. For the number 1 spot is actually going to be Tamarind. If you ask any mid to late game player, like, what do I need to progress in the game, PvP wise, PvE wise, then they're gonna tell you have to have a Tamarind. You don't need multiple copies, you just need 1 copy. But Tamarind is a must pull, right? Must build. She's just that strong, right? Right now she's on the banner, so if you don't have her, make sure you grab her before she goes away. If you're a newer player, and she definitely worth your investment. And personally, I pull her and then I clear all the PvE content. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, she's just that strong. So basically, she has two forms: the normal form and the idol form. So in the normal form, she heals, right, by her S2, and S1 as well heals. Nothing special. And her S3s, right, Shining Stars comes with a cooldown on the turn 1. But after a few turns, right, she can use S3 and transform into the idol form. So she immediately gains a turn and gains another turn and heal herself to full and cleanse. And also you can use S1 or S2 immediately after she's transformed. So if you use S2 in the idol's form, she put attack buff, heals, and push combat readiness to all allies and cleanse. Yeah, this is too much packed into one kit, right? It's very very powerful skills for S2. And not to mention that if you use her idol form, right, S1 idol form, you dual attack with one of your teammates, and also AoE strips like the enemy. So basically, she just make PvE content a lot easier. Although her base stats are kind of tragic because she has a very low base health, I think. And but she's a must build. If you don't have her, you can't really clear a lot of like PvE content and to step into the mid to late game. So I think Tamarind deserved the queen of PvE. And not to mention that if you watch right the Epic 7 trailers, I believe there's a OST song called Promise featuring Tamarind in that short anime scene. Is also very cute as well. Overall, I think she deserves a spot for the top 5 Soul Weavers. That concludes today's video. In summary, the honorable mentions are Sinful Angelica, Blood Moon Haze, Magic Scholar Doris, and for top 5 we have Rwanda, Angelic Pomeranian, Diane, LiQWYD, and Tamarind. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos, and make sure to drop a comments if you want to suggest me anything, and let me know your thoughts. And also, if you really like the video, please drop a like by clicking on the like button. Also consider subscribe my channel if you like to see future content, and make sure to let me know what would you like to see for the videos in the futures. And with that being said, I really appreciate your feedback, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. See you guys next time.